Hello, 422. It's Dr. Allen. Sorry, a little change of scenery. This is actually part of my kitchen. Don't worry, that thing is supposed to be crooked like that. My wife likes it for some reason. It is actually kind of neat. It's like a crow. My lighting in my office was terrible. These early fall evenings are kind of messing some stuff up with the recording and such. It is actually Wednesday, October 14th. Hope you're having a good week. I mentioned it last week, but hope midterms and everyone's kind of getting into the flow for the second half. We don't have much left. Um, this is actually not going to be too long of a lecture. I know sometimes I get a little long-winded. I'd say they'll be short and they end up being like 45, 50 minutes. It's not going to be one of those today because, one, I'm hoping, I'm recording this the day before, but I'm hoping that I will see some of you at the EdTPA assignment briefing on Thursday, the 15th. That is actually tomorrow. I sent out the link and this will do no good that I'm saying all this right now, but hopefully I've seen you then so we can talk about any issues or any questions that you've had or we have addressed them. Also, this video actually deals with the week from the 19th to the 26th. On the 26th, if you remember, I sent out a thing. The Bird Center is actually coming to talk to us via Zoom from 11:30 to 12. He said he can go a little bit longer. I just asked for a half an hour. I figured that's actually a good lecture for you all. Please try to make that if you can, because it is actually a great resource and it really gets into teaching with documents. I know some of you have told me in 443 you've been looking at some inquiry approach type things. That's awesome. That's C3 type stuff. But the Bird Center has so many resources. I think it would be so great if you could just come, hear what he has to say, take the half an hour, and you can go from there. They're just awesome. And plus they do workshops. They're doing workshops with teachers this weekend and the following weekend. So, and when I mean this weekend, I mean the week of the 14th and then the week of the 21st. So that is that. So hopefully I've seen you on the 15th. Don't forget we're meeting on the 26th from about a half an hour. Next thing, advisement. I believe I am, or I should be, everyone's advisor in this class. I believe most of you had Dr. Cole. I took over social studies. It was my background. When I was hired, they kind of told me that. So most of you I've met, talked to on all face-to-face, but please make sure you've signed up for an advising time. I sent out the list. Today's the 14th. I've actually typed it up. I'm going to go back over to make sure I don't have any double ups or anything like that because of student teaching and such. But this should go out. Make sure you sign up. We'll go through the classes. I will go ahead and just as a general, because I know most of you are kind of wrapping up. Some are going into student teaching next semester. Some are starting to take up their final major classes. I did catch that the Political Science 300, which is usually an upper division political science class you need, and the New Deal class in U.S. history they're both actually up, and Dr. Gordon's, I believe 420 is being offered. Those are all good things. We need those upper division classes to get. I know some of you needed them to knock out, but we'll talk about that during advisement. So with all that being said, let me hit share screen. And I just want to pull up a few things for the week, and I promise you I will not get too long-winded. There are some things here that we're going to look at. On the discussion board, I'm going to do the DBQs a little bit more, but I know the grading. I haven't had a chance to look at those yet. This week I'm doing lesson plans in another class, but I'm actually looking forward to what you all came up with the test. This week, as you can see, I'm sorry, I'm losing my train of thought there. We're actually not doing any type of thematic type thing. And textbooks, I like to get into the textbooks a little bit because of Lowen, but I'm kind of phasing that out because textbooks are kind of a dying thing for some social studies classes. And honestly, you shouldn't be dependent on a textbook anyway. So, I'm not going to get bogged down on the textbooks. I'm going to actually save that for a discussion board. I'm just going to share a few of group and discussion techniques that none of them should be splitting the atom. I think you've probably at least either done or heard of most of these, but I'm going to put the resources up and we'll just kind of wrap up from there. But with that being said, sorry, I'm getting a little long-winded. One of the things I wanted to show you all was anchor charts. I don't know how much you all have done these or if you're a big proponent, but one thing with anchor charts, I think they're a great way to kind of get a group in a discussion type thing going. I use anchor charts a lot. Some secondary teachers do think they're a little bit more on the elementary side, and maybe this could possibly be the middle school teacher and me coming out a little bit more than the high school teacher. But if you're not familiar with it, anchor charts are basically ways to kind of get discussions going. You put students in groups and they kind of deal with a major question, very inquiry based approach. So you can see, this is just a site. I'm going to post this article. I thought it was pretty nice, but you see they deal with the whole thing, politics, who should be in charge. And they kind of just, the students break these down. These are all student made, and you hang them up in your room. Sometimes anchor charts, depending on the class or the topic, you may keep it up all year round. Maybe you're going to have students do something on political systems and you want to keep them up so they have a thing to refer back to. I don't know, but I like them. And there's something on there on an economy. I like anchor charts. It might be something you might want to consider. They're very simplistic. I think sometimes I like the KISS system, keep it simple, stupid type thing. I never tried to get too elaborate with discussion groups or things. I think it just leads itself to more confusion with students and yourself. As you can see, social things, how we relate, and they looked at this. These are, you give students the question, they break it down on a topic. Obviously, you need to create a rubric and establish some clear expectations for your anchor charts. But I would highly recommend using anchor charts in your classroom. I will put this article up if you want to check them out. 13 colonies, there you go. They can talk about the pros and cons and its characteristics. I like it. So as you can see, and there's some other ones. There's some other methods of doing anchor charts. There's the Sixth Amendment. It looks like their students printed out things and kind of molded it around. That's one good group and discussion topic. And by the way, I kind of jumped right in there. The reason why I'm doing this, of course, now I'm pulled up. There you go. That was one of the things for this week. Sorry, but anchor charts, check them out. Another thing that I'm not going to give you examples because I think everyone's familiar with them, but I'm going to put this article up and you're going to laugh at me, but I like the way it's written. This is an article on stations. I think all social studies teachers like to do stations. Just in case no one is familiar with what a station is, I'm sure you are because you probably did them a million times. But you have a group of students and they go to different learning stations, or maybe you even have folders and you hand them out and those are the station works. But it's usually around the topic. We've actually done them in our live class a few times when students have done micro teaching, where they might do something on the civil rights movement, and each station might have something. Like I remember one student did an awesome one where one station was related to voter disenfranchisement, or basically suppression of voters. Couldn't spit that out. It's been a long day. On one station. And then, it might get into some of the Jim Crow laws on another station. The I Have a Dream speech at another station. It was actually really good. So you have that central theme. The article I'm putting up actually talks about, if you're a beginning teacher, how to create learning stations. This is where you're probably going to laugh at me a little bit. As you can see, it's geared more for the elementary. Let me tell you something about elementary school teachers. I know the younger they are, sometimes the harder it is to teach. And I mean that as a compliment to elementary school teachers, and that is not a diss on secondary, because that's where I always was. But they have to be very organized and structured, especially in making sure that things can fall apart very quickly in the lower grades. And as you look here, you might want to check this out, how they talk about stations. Like when you design a station, make sure it's something that you think you will be interested in and your students. Make sure it's a curriculum that matches your standards. Make sure that if you like the station, keep everything organized and keep them in boxes and folders so when you use them the next year, you can pull them out. If you have any type of IEP type materials, again, make sure that's in there. If you're using folders and large envelopes, one thing I used to do, and I still have them, you ought to get the experience of this year because we weren't live, but when we did the thing where we placed the NCSS, you can tell I'm tired. I've already messed up two things. Disenfranchisement. Can I even say that? And then the NCAA. NCSS, the National Council of Social Studies, when we did themes, I have envelopes, and I used to make people go around and they had to investigate each group and then kind of place them. It was a rudimentary station work, but I keep all those in a folder. Again, make sure you store all this. But this is just, it's just suggestions for running your stations and how to make them run efficiently. I will say this, I wouldn't get too crazy with stations in that some teachers like to have them every week. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It gets students up and moving around. What I'm talking about is the number of stations that you have. I always thought 4 to 5 was a good number because especially if you only have a 45-minute class and you have to have good questions and documentation things that the students need to answer at each station. But stations, obviously, it's a common one, but I think it's a great way to do discussion and group work. You can do the debriefing at the end of the class, or you can do it in the next class if your stations take a day or two. So again, stations, anchor charts, stations, and one other one. This is one, I did this more as debates, but I'm going to share it with you. And actually, I hope I didn't lose my chart, my page. I probably did. Let me go back. Socratic Q&A or Socratic seminars. A lot of people really like the Socratic approach. I actually went to a conference last year and actually sat through a Socratic seminar, like debriefing. And basically what it is it's a highly researched, debated, well, let me just read it there instead of me getting too wordy. It's, you know, it's basically where you kind of, students have an in-depth dive into the ideas, issues, and values related to a topic, and they do a group discussion. As you can see, I'm going to send this out, but, you know, when you set up a Socratic seminar, you select your topic. You have to give students time to prepare. And, you know, a lot of times you want to have open-ended questions, so there's no clear-cut answer. Actually, for a Socratic seminar, it needs to be an open-ended question. A lot of times you need to set up rules beforehand, very much like a debate. You need to establish what the guidelines are. This is your classroom management type stuff. And if you don't do this, they can fall apart very quickly. That applies to the debates, that applies to Socratic seminars. But again, check it out. Have the students like sign a contract saying, this is how we're going to do it. Don't interrupt or let other people say their points of view. And you need to hold firm to how you do this, because again, the Socratic seminars, and I'm going to go ahead and throw in debates, they're only as good as the students let them be. And that's probably at the end of the day up to you to making sure that students know these are the guidelines and all. Again, when I've done things like this though, and students knew the rules going in, I have never really had a problem. I think I can remember 1 or 2 times I've had to get on a student, and most of the time it's positive. It's positive. The things that got the students in trouble were more positive than negative. And what I mean by that is they were so into the topic that they, you know, you got to kind of have them chill out just a minute. But, you know, that type of stuff never bothered me, especially if it wasn't out of control. And as you can see, you know, you have the seminar and then you reflect and you evaluate and you may score each other and such. I'm going to send this link out. It actually has a nice handout from this Holocaust Museum about Socratic seminars. And you can kind of see some of the questions that you might have students ask each other or ask students. So those are just 3 approaches. I thought I'd throw them out there. I said I'd keep this short, but anchored, you know, anchor charts, Socratic seminars, and of course stations are the 3 things that, you know, I just wanted to throw out there. These resources are on Sakai. I will post them up. They're not actually on there as of the moment I'm recording this, but they will be there if you want to check them out. There's also other things that you can get into with discussions. Of course, there's basic Q&As, but what I'm basically trying to tell you, these are things where you can do nuts and bolts stuff. You have those students for 180 days. Limit the stand and deliver type stuff. I know you have to do that to a certain extent, especially in the secondary things. Even if you have AP, and I know some of you, everyone always wants to teach AP. Everyone, and there's a lot of reasons why. You love the subject area and the students usually are into it. They have an interest because they want to do well on the test. That's all true. But even for those classes, you've got to mix it up a little bit. I know you may have teachers that just gave you notes and all, and some students do respond to that. But I think it's important to kind of mix it up a little bit. So anyway, and that, by the way, that's not saying every AP teacher does that, but I do know some do. So anyway, by the way, the whole issue of teaching AP, just to let you know, I mean, there's a lot of pressure on those too. We need good AP teachers. I've graded the test, but you have to remember, you're responsible for those students also well, rightly or wrongly, doing well or not well on those tests. Even if it's not your fault per se, it is your fault because it comes back to you. And I'm not even saying that's fair, but again, that's a discussion for another day. That's it. That's all I want to get into. I'll make sure this is all up there. As you can see, there are some Flipgrids. There is the quiz 3. Don't forget to be doing your quizzes. They have been open, and I know some people have been doing them. I don't think I've closed them out, but if you haven't done them, make sure you're getting them done. I'm going to do blog 8 here in a minute after I record this, so you'll probably see me in the same outfit and the same kitchen setting. I will tell you right now about blog 8. It is one thing. I figured I'd keep it simple too, and you can kind of give me the thumbs up, thumbs down. I've ran into something that kind of excited me at Books A Million, so I thought I just would do it on there because I've used it in the classroom and I didn't know it was in book form now. So with all that being said, hope you're having a good week. Please, 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 please make sure you show up for a half an hour on the 26th for the Bird Center. That would be awesome. It's just the Zoom. It's not at the Bird Center. So with all that being said, hope you use some of these resources, and I will get them posted ASAP. Let me stop my sharing, and I will talk to you later. Probably we'll see some of you in Advisement very shortly. Make sure you have your schedules hammered out too. I'd like to kind of see and get an idea of where you want to go with that. So, okie dokie. Talk to everyone later.